Imagine working 40 hours a week, every week, year after year, and still not feeling like you're ahead. Not broke, but not free. Not poor, but nowhere near rich. Just surviving. In America, the wealthiest country in history, why does comfortable feel like a luxury? What if I told you the number it takes to feel truly comfortable is much higher than you think? And worse, what if I told you that number keeps climbing, no matter how hard you work? Let's talk about the new price tag of the American dream, and why millions of people can't seem to catch up. There was a time when being comfortable meant a stable job, a modest home, one car in the driveway, maybe two. You paid your bills, saved a little, took a vacation once a year, and looked forward to a secure retirement. That time is gone. Today, being comfortable means dodging debt, managing soaring rent or mortgages, navigating medical costs, saving for retirement, paying student loans, and somehow still affording groceries that seem to double in price overnight. And here's the kicker. The dollar figure it takes to achieve that baseline comfort is skyrocketing. So how much do you really need to live a life that doesn't feel like a financial tightrope? 50K, 75K, 100K, try again. Let's strip this down to the bones. When we ask, how much money do Americans need to be comfortable? We're not just talking about a dollar amount. We're asking something deeper. We're digging into the soul of a nation that once prided itself on the promise of prosperity. We're talking about dignity, about freedom, about whether someone can breathe easy without the constant chokehold of financial anxiety tightening around their neck. The traditional formula used to be simple. A steady job, a home with a white picket fence, 2 kids, a car in the driveway, and maybe a week-long vacation once a year. That was comfort. That was the dream. But this isn't the 1950s. This isn't your grandfather's America. This is 2025, a time where wages haven't kept up with inflation, where student loans hang like iron weights on the ankles of young professionals, and where a single medical bill can gut your entire savings overnight. Let's talk numbers. For a family of 4, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development says anything below $80,000 annually in a major metro like Los Angeles is considered low income. Low income. Let that sink in. A salary that used to be the mark of success is now just barely enough to survive in some cities. That $100,000 milestone we were once taught to chase like the Holy Grail? In today's economy, it buys you modest comfort at best, and only if you're extremely careful. Let's paint the picture of an average middle-class American in 2025. Let's say they're earning $100,000 a year, a figure many consider the benchmark of comfort. That breaks down to about $6,500 per month after taxes, depending on the state. Sounds decent, right? Now let's burn through that income line by line. Rent or mortgage in a decent neighborhood, $2,000 to $3,500 a month. If you're in New York City, San Francisco, or Seattle, forget it. You're easily looking at $4,000 plus. Groceries for a family? $800 to $200 per month thanks to food inflation. Health insurance premiums? Around $500, $1,000. And that's before copays or deductibles. Student loans? $300, $800 a month. Childcare? Don't even get started. If you're paying for full-time daycare, that's another $200 to $2,000 per child. Utilities, phone, car payments, gas, internet, streaming services, maybe a gym membership? That's another $800 to $1,500 depending on your lifestyle. Add all that up, and suddenly our supposedly comfortable American has nothing left at the end of the month. Zero, or worse. They're in the red. Now let's add some stress to the equation. What happens when the car breaks down? What happens when the water heater bursts? What if someone gets laid off or sick for 2 months? The fragility of comfort in today's economy is breathtaking. Most Americans are 1 or 2 paychecks away from spiraling into financial chaos. That's the new American reality. Not comfort, but survival with a smile. A financial balancing act where even the slightest misstep can send everything tumbling. And the problem isn't just how expensive life has become. It's also how little people are making relative to those costs. The Economic Policy Institute reports that wages for middle-income Americans have barely risen when adjusted for inflation over the last 2 decades. Think about that. Everything has gotten more expensive. Housing, food, education, healthcare. But the money people earn has stayed basically flat. That's not just unfair, that's unsustainable. Here's the kicker. This isn't just a lower class or working class issue anymore. The anxiety of financial insecurity has crept into the middle. and even upper middle class. People making six figures are living paycheck to paycheck in some cities. Wealth is becoming concentrated at the top like never before. In 2025, the top 10% of earners in the US hold over 70% of the nation's wealth. That's not a free market. It's a rigged game where the dice are loaded and the dealer works for the house. Let's look at what comfort should mean. It should mean being able to cover your basic expenses: housing, food, healthcare, education, without fear. It should mean being able to save for the future, take care of your children, enjoy your weekends, maybe travel occasionally, and not have a panic attack every time your credit card statement arrives. But increasingly, Americans are having to redefine comfort. For many, it now simply means having a roof over your head and food in the fridge. Forget savings, forget retirement, forget home ownership. Those are luxuries now. Things for the elite, the well-connected, or the incredibly lucky. And this financial pressure is reshaping how people live. Millennials and Gen Z are delaying marriage and children not because they don't want families, but because they can't afford them. Home ownership is down, not because people don't want to buy, but because down payments are out of reach. Over half of young adults are living with their parents, not by choice, but out of necessity. Meanwhile, the system gaslights them with messages like, "Just work harder," or "cut back on lattes," as if cutting out a $5 coffee will magically erase $200,000 in student debt or make housing affordable again. It's insulting, it's tone-deaf, and it completely ignores the real structural issues driving this crisis. And what are those issues? Let's start with housing. We are in the middle of a housing affordability crisis, and it's hitting every major city. There's simply not enough supply to meet the demand, and what is available is priced absurdly high. Add in the fact that investors, both domestic and foreign, are snapping up single-family homes like monopoly pieces, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Regular families can't compete. They're being priced out of the market entirely. Next, healthcare. The US spends more per capita on healthcare than any other country in the world, yet millions remain uninsured or underinsured. A single emergency room visit can cost thousands, even with insurance. For many Americans, avoiding healthcare has become a form of financial planning. Then there's education. Student debt now totals more than $1.7 trillion. That's trillion with a T. Young Americans are shackled with loans before they've even begun their adult lives, and the returns on that investment are diminishing. College degrees no longer guarantee financial stability. They often guarantee debt. And let's not forget inflation. The rising cost of living is outpacing wage growth at an alarming rate. Essentials like eggs, milk, gas, rent, and utilities are costing more month by month. That $100,000 salary we talked about earlier, it doesn't stretch like it used to. In fact, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, purchasing power has declined over the last 24 months despite nominal wage increases. You might be earning more, but you're buying less. So what's the magic number today? How much does someone actually need to feel comfortable in America in 2025? Experts at financial firms like Charles Schwab and Northwestern Mutual estimate that the average American now believes you need between $230,000 and $300,000 a year to truly feel financially comfortable. Not rich, just comfortable. That includes a stable home, the ability to save for retirement, occasional travel, and peace of mind. For comparison, the median household income in the US is about $74,000. That's not even close. It's not just a gap, it's a chasm. And for millions of Americans, the gap is growing wider each year. The social safety nets meant to catch people have frayed, and in some places, they've snapped altogether. Wages have stagnated, job security is an illusion, and the so-called middle class is shrinking. Many are working harder than ever, yet falling further behind. But here's the real danger. This constant pressure, this economic squeeze, it doesn't just hurt bank accounts. It wears down the soul. It fuels anxiety, depression, relationship breakdowns, burnout, and even physical illness. Financial stress is now a leading cause of divorce, mental health issues, and even suicide in the United States. We are raising generations who no longer believe in the American dream. Not because they're lazy, not because they want handouts, but because they've done everything right, got the degree, worked the job, paid the taxes, and still can't get ahead. It's time to stop asking why young Americans buy fewer houses, delay families, or skip vacations. The better question is, how are they even managing to survive at all? Because the truth is, millions of Americans aren't looking for luxury. They're not chasing Lamborghinis or mansions. They just want comfort, stability, a home they can afford, a job that pays fairly, healthcare that doesn't bankrupt them, and a future worth looking forward to. That's not a fantasy. That's a human right. That's the bare minimum a developed nation should provide its people. And yet, here we are. So the next time someone says, $100,000 is a lot of money, ask them where they live. Ask them how much rent is. Ask them what their healthcare premiums look like. Ask them how much daycare costs. Then ask them this: is being financially comfortable in America still achievable? Because for millions of people, the answer is a painful, resounding no. So what can you do when the game feels rigged? Redefine comfortable. Maybe it's not about luxury, it's about autonomy. Focus on building emergency savings, flexible income streams, and low-debt living. These provide psychological comfort far more than flashy spending. Maximize earning potential. Consider side hustles, certifications, remote work, or high-income skills. The economy rewards specialization, not loyalty. Invest in you. Live below your means. Not in a miserly way, but intentionally. Cut out what doesn't add value and funnel savings into assets, index funds, retirement accounts, or even real estate. Know your number. Budget backwards. How much do you need per month to sleep well at night? Build your life around your comfort number, not society's expectations. The most recent Consumer Price Index report shows a 3.5% annual rise in living costs, but specific sectors like housing and food are surging much higher. Meanwhile, the Federal Reserve is cautiously optimistic, but many Americans aren't seeing relief. And there's political tension around raising the federal minimum wage and expanding access to affordable housing. But until these issues are resolved, financial comfort remains a moving target. I spoke to a 38-year-old teacher recently. She works full-time, has a side hustle tutoring, and rents a modest one-bedroom. I don't want to be rich, she told me. I just want to stop worrying. That's what comfort means to me. She makes $68,000 a year. In today's America, that's not enough to stop worrying. The truth is, the American dream was never about yachts or mansions. It was about security, about dignity, about the quiet confidence that your bills are paid, your health is covered, and your kids have a shot at something better. That dream still exists, but now it's gated by a six-figure salary. So how much money do you need to be comfortable in America? A better question might be, how long can you afford not to find out? Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, a like would be fantastic, and subscribing helps me keep creating content you'll hopefully enjoy. Please share your experiences and any questions in the comments. I always try to read and respond. Your support keeps this channel going. Until our next video, take care.